It's recording.
We're calling the town of Dannemora February meeting to order, and now we'll say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody remain standing just for, we'll have a moment of silence in memory of Pete Barber, the past highway superintendent. Thank you. Okay. On that, we need a motion to approve the minutes from January 23rd, 2019.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Oh, roll call, we forgot that? But it ain't on there. Oh, she forgot.
Roll call. Supervisor Chase.
Here.
Councilman Barber.
Here.
Councilman DeGray.
Here.
Councilman Leclerc.
Absent.
Councilman Merritt.
Made me late. The mother's in the hospital. Okay. Persons addressing the board. First up, we're going to have Brian Burke and maybe Jen Perry working together as one. They're both here in regards to the same thing. The geothermal project. Okay, Brian, you're up. If you want to use the podium, feel free to do so. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
My name is Brian Burke. I'm an architect from Essex, New York, and I have the pleasure of being the architect for this building. So my history of this building goes way back, and actually got to know the Barber very well during that process. Started to work on this process. I think it was probably a month ago or so, I got an email from Bill Chase saying the town had received a grant to implement a geothermal energy retrofit for the building. It was an idea that we had when we first designed the building, and so a lot of the initial work has already been done. The idea was to use the missile silo as a geothermal well and take water from that, run it through a heat exchanger loop, and provide geothermal energy to the building. Some of you may know that the building fire protection system, the sprinkler heads you see here, are supplied from the water in the silo. So that the design of the building mechanically, in terms of fire protection, mechanical systems, was originally conceived with that dual use for the water in the silo. So the efforts of the town and Bill Donahue, the town was able to secure a grant of $250,000 from NYSERDA to implement the geothermal system as a retrofit. So I got an email from Bill saying, yes, we got this grant, and we put together a proposal to design this geothermal energy system. And by the way, NYSERDA has given me all of these requirements they have to meet, so I'll have your help doing that too. So that's what's in the proposal that we have before you. The proposal has an outline of basically two services. One set of services is basic services, which are this schematic design development, construction documents, procurement where you hire contractors, and then construction administration, which is a pretty standard sequence for any construction project. And then supplemental services that take care of all of the record keeping, reporting to NYSERDA, the energy modeling that's required at the end of construction documents and at the end of the end of construction. And then during construction, implementation reports that document all of the equipment purchases, all of the, there's a 50% implementation report and a 100% implementation report. At the end of construction documents, there's a NYSERDA required hold period of a month before you start procurement, where they bring in an independent consultant to evaluate the energy model that we will provide that documents the projected performance of the building. And NYSERDA has set two goals. In addition to geothermal energy, they have added to the project a solar array. And their primary goal is to make this building be net zero energy consumer. So any energy that you consume will be offset by the energy that is produced by the solar array. So that's one of the charges of the design of the system. It has to hit that target on net zero energy building. I think you've all been provided with a detail of our proposal. The proposal has an introduction, list of proposed services that I've described, fees, contracts, a schedule, which is the last page, 11 by 17. What we're attempting to do is set up a schedule that results in construction over the course of the summer and into the fall, so that we can have the system back up and running for the next heating season. And we've also provided a two-page detailed task list that lists all of the tasks that are under both basic and supplemental services. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Bill had a couple of questions in advance when we were over this. He wanted to know if our fees were eligible to be covered by the grant. And I'm informed from the grant administrator that yes, they are.
So everybody, we got 300, actually our share is 105, and so there's $350,000 towards this project. If you look into the details of the cost of engineering, it could run to near $100,000. His fees, just for the basic services, he's asking for $64,500. Supplemental fees, the service fees, is estimating to be from $25,000 to $30,000. So it'll be $95,000 range, possibly, for his services. So, anybody got any questions?
We got your grant for $250,000.
We've got to put it at 105.
We have to put in 105.
Well, it's 245, so it's 105, so it's 350 total. But this type of system will pay for itself over, or you know, it's going to be set up where it's going to be
Yeah,
run.
the secondary goal for NYSERDA is that the building, or the system will have a 20-year payback. So the cost of the system will be paid for in energy savings for 20 years.
Or less, right? The only other thing I talked about with Brian today was in regards to the solar thing. He needs what do we need, a half an acre, you said?
That's a rough guess, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be right here on site. We've got other town, it could be in Lime Mountain up there in the Lions property, or we've got a couple pieces of property. Another one is near the tire plant, or the ore sand off 374, or there's 26 acres up on Lowenberg Road that belong to the town. The only problem there would be clearing that land. So what we're looking at here tonight is to accept his proposal and get him to start moving on the project.
Sure, we can take this money out of the, pay for the 95,000.
Well, we got to put the money up front on this, right, too? Jen?
In terms of the, will you get reimbursed at different stages of the?
Right, but we've got to put all the money up front, type of thing,
Yeah.
and then we reimbursed at the end of it. So the money would be coming from our fund balance funds, or sand money, basically. Which we do have enough to, and in the end, we get back, if we put out 350, in the end, we'll get back 350. It basically won't cost, won't cost us any more than that, unless there's, for some reason when Brian comes together with his design and it's more than the money that's available after his fees are paid. No, I think Matt's coming, but I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm pretty sure, I might have sent this to him already. I think I did, and he approved it, yes. I've been sending him a lot of stuff lately. There he is, walking in the door. I didn't include the addendum in this, Brian. Oh, there's Joe. Okay.
Jody? There's Woody.
You looked at this proposal from Brian Burke, right? In regards to the geothermal?
I think I have to look at it again to make sure. I think so. It sounds good.
Right. Well, Jim just asked that. We'll wait on you guys to get comfortable.
It's only 6:30, 6:15.
Yeah, well, now we're in the middle of something. We need your help. Get comfortable fast.
I'm comfortable.
Well, we grab no candy on the way in?
No. You needed my help.
You only go with these,
What are we looking for?
You just put it in the side there. Geothermal proposal.
Yes, I did look at this. That's fine.
Okay. Joe, you want to take a chance to look at it? Bottom, Brian's going to cover basic services, and then there's supplemental services that he has to cover, because NYSERDA is requiring things that he probably would normally wouldn't take care of, right? For basic services, it's his fee would be $64,500. Supplemental services are going to, he estimates to be from $25,000 to $30,000. Supplemental services, it's $150 per hour. And the addendum was you were wanting to get $5,000 up front to start the project, right? Right.
And $5,000 up front covers all necessary paperwork to start the process, is that it?
And we got Jen Perry here too. She would be working on our behalf as a grant administrator. That's another, you guys all got that proposal, Matt, I don't know if I. She'd basically be our eyes and ears, dealing with Brian in regards to making sure that all the requirements for NYSERDA are met, helping out in those matters. She's looking for a pay rate of $55 an hour to help the grant administration services on a monthly basis as invoiced. You need any more to say than that, Jen?
No, I'd like to just introduce myself. I am Jennifer Perry, and to be clear, I work with the Adirondack North Country Association, ANCA. Some of you might know Nancy Bernstein, who also played a role in getting this project started, but I am not here with ANCA. I'm here as an independent consultant, and just like Bill said, I have a long-standing history working with NYSERDA and very familiar with their grants and contracts. So my role would be to be working on your behalf to be partnering also with Brian to make sure that the requirements set out in the grant are being met, helping have them submitted, making sure that everything operates smoothly between those two places. And just to clarify in terms of the compensation, this is a milestone-based contract, so you can bill as milestones are achieved, and there are 3. So yes, you will have to front some money, but you also can be billing for those outlays of money in a staged way, so that it's not all going out and not getting, you don't have to wait until the very end of the project to get some of the money back.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
Yep, it does. So we have to upfront the money, Joe. And we've been, total money is, our share is 105, nice, from the state it's 245, so it's 350. Brian is looking at close to anywhere from $95,000 to $100,000 in engineering fees. Possibly lower.
Matt, look at the paperwork and we're legally compliant with what you read, I'm okay with it.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna need somebody to make a motion to accept his, I'll make the motion, to accept Brian Burke's proposal. The rate of pay that he's asked for, and we're in agreement with the schedule and everything else that's in this proposal.
I'll second the motion.
We'll have to do a roll call vote. Any other discussion? Jim?
Yes.
Joey?
Yep.
Steve?
Yes.
Bill? Yes. Motion carried. All right. Now to take care of our grant administrator. I mean, there's 2 pages there for responsibilities of, she'll assist the town to finalize scope of the work, timeline development, preliminary budget, show clarification of scope of the work requirements and language, assist the town to complete all tasks in the scope of the work, coordination of delivery of deliverable completion and submission, oversee completion and submission of metric reports, she'll consult with the project team, including the town premises, be Brian, ANCA, to monitor project progress and review deliverable submissions. Act as a liaison between the town and NYSERDA, contract manager, Lori, whatever her last name is, share updates and relevant information with the town when appropriate. And she will respond to requests from project team, including ANCA, Burke, and the town as deemed relevant to the grant administration role.
Can we pick up our funds off that grant too?
Yes, we do.
So I got just one question for you regarding the overall consultation with the town. What's the increments of how it's going to take place? Is it going to be weekly, monthly? Just understanding how that information flows to us. In case something goes astray and we need to just say, okay, time out, let's take a break on this and have more understanding of what the next steps are going to be. Just looking to see when the information
Well, I
comes
think
to us by.
we can set that parameter, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So-
I would ask you what works best for you, and I'm happy to comply with that.
What's been your normal practice in the past for communicating with the board on issues like this?
Well, I-
Bi-weekly or?
It's really been on as things have evolved. In projects like this, things can be very quiet for a very long period of time, and then over the course of 2 weeks, a lot can happen. I did structure my invoice so that it will also be a report. So as I'm invoicing you, you'll see in detail the status of the project and the specific tasks that I've done at that point in time. At any point, if something of concern comes up, though, that would be a direct call as a bill. If I
Okay,
felt
so-
it was more urgent, that something that needed to be brought to somebody's attention or discussed or worked out sooner, I would.
So as far as basic information sharing, it would probably be an email format, and then when something needs to be called a timeout, you communicate strictly with Bill?
Yeah, and like I said, the summary of the month's activity will be in the invoice as well. So
Okay.
that'll have a dual purpose to update you as
Okay,
well.
and the only other thing before you approve this, you must take out a drop.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah.
We just, I forgot to print it, and then when I printed it, it came out this way, and
Okay. I'll make it compliant.
Do you want me to resubmit it without the draft watermark, or is that something you guys?
yeah, if you would, please. Okay, you're gonna need a motion in regards to hiring Jennifer Perry as our grant administrator.
I'll make the motion to hire Mary as a grant administrator.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call vote. Or any more discussion first? Roll call vote. Jim?
Yes.
Joey?
Yeah.
Steve?
Yes.
Bill? Yes. Motion carried. Okay, we're good, Brian and Jen. All right, thank you. All right, our next person to address the board is Melissa McManus over the comprehensive planning grant. Here to explain all the intricacies and all that. We've got a couple people in the audience, Bill Leduc, Barb Leduc, Reverend St. Germain, Bill Donahue, who possibly could, well, we need a committee. I'm sure Bill will be part of it. The other three are here to listen to what Melissa has to say and determine their fate after that.
I do that.
Good evening.
You too.
Okay, thanks again, guys.
Thanks, Brian. Jim.
Bruce, what do I hit to move it? Just the down there? Up there, down there, and then it's dark, or do I hit to get it back?
She's got a PowerPoint.
I am, no, I'm fine. Oh, oh, this is fancy then. I've never used a laser pointer before. My name is Melissa McManus, and I thought since we're going to be working together, maybe we could start with a quick introduction as to who I am, because who I am is really why I'm here. And so I'll give you a little bit of an overview of my background and what I do, and then talk about this project that the supervisor contacted me about. I'm from Rouse's Point. I'm raising my fifth generation of Obrey, Penfield, McManuses in that community. And I've lived my whole life in the North Country, with the exception of a few years in Boston when I went to college. I spent some time on your side of the desk. That was something I was born and raised to. My Uncle Leo was the town supervisor forever. My mom was the village clerk. So I had that unique kind of crazy that makes you want to get involved in local government. One of my earliest memories is stuffing leaflets in mail slots when my uncle was running. He ran for mayor too when he was mayor. I got involved back when I was very, very young in local government and did some planning, some zoning, ended up on a board, had to make a budget, had to vote yes, no on difficult decisions. So one of the key parts that I like to emphasize is, you know what it's like. I was the mayor in Champlain. I had to do the budget, and for every $10,000 we wanted to spend, I knew that was 30 cents on the tax rate, and that was a lot of money because they had just lost Harris Graphics. So taught for a while, which is how I met Mr. Leduc back in the day when I was at Beacon Town, and when I had my kids, I stayed home, was in local government, and got recruited to work with my hometown, with Rouse's Point, on a community revitalization effort. We got started in 2004, and in 2005, Pfizer announced they were shutting the plant down. And at that point, I think we had about 1,500 people left there, and they were all going. And over the course of the next decade, they've left, they're done now after many, many years. And Rouse's Point, I'm happy to report, is back on its feet, and I think it's going to be fine. But needless to say, that was an experience that made me realize that while I had worked on this thing called community development, prettying up the streetscape, building a nice pier, trying to get better access to Lake Champlain, what I was really interested in was economic development, because all of a sudden, a lot of the people that I had gone to school with, their older brothers and sisters, their parents, were now unemployed at 40 or 50, and I realized that, to me, that's the issue in the North Country. So I got myself certified. I became a certified economic developer, for what it's worth, and I've been working in that field ever since. I work for the Village of Tupper Lake. That's my day job. I help them with a lot of planning and also implementation. I've worked with the regional council process since it started, helped to write that regional council plan and help staff the council, which has been wonderful for me in that it's brought me into contact with a lot of information and a lot of regional economic development understandings, and made a lot of friends. And I'd really like to see what you do done within the context of those regional opportunities and regional systems. I think it makes a lot more sense for you. So I met the supervisor and also Bill Donahue when I did a brief stint as the director of the Clinton County IDA, where I learned a lot and got to meet these fine people from the town of Dannemora. And we had some discussions that I think were hopefully leading into the ideas behind this grant. So that's who I am, that's what I do. I tell my kids, one of whom's on the phone here. You still there, Deb?
I'm here.
Okay. I tell my kids I am blessed. I was able to leave a career that I really loved while I was there, but I was ready to do something else, and to find what has become a calling for me. Because every job in the North Country, and especially every decent paying job, is another family that can afford to stay here. And my dream is someday to be able to bring some of our kids back, because we've lost so many of them. My son Devin, who I left teaching to have, is now 21 years old. He's a junior at SUNY Geneseo, studying economics, which makes Mom very proud, and environmental science and political science. And so when I agreed to take this work on, I thought, I'm going to have an assistant. And he's responsible for this gorgeous slideshow, way better than Mom could have done. So Devin's listening and taking notes, and hopefully he'll join us at some of the Project Advisory Committee meetings. So what I learned in those years of trying to do economic development, I learned that if you have a community that's willing to invest in itself and committed, you can get grant money. You look at, obviously, Dannemora, perfect example. I opened up that awards booklet in December and was blown away by the amount of money that you were able to secure with Bill's help. So you have a community, you're willing to invest, you have a great asset in Bill Donahue, who is obviously an excellent grant writer. You can get money to do projects. Your geothermal system is very impressive. I know you have a lot of other investments that you're making. If you have somebody that can stay with you and do the grant administration, then you're guaranteed to be successful, because that's where the work really starts. It's great that you have, some experienced people helping on that grant. It is harder to encourage private businesses to invest in your community. So I am not here to tell you that I can come up with one thing that guarantees you economic development in the town of Dannemora. I can't promise you that. But what I can promise you is, if you're willing, we'll take a look at your kind of best odds options to encourage new business, which means more jobs, which means hopefully more families able to stay in Lime Mountain and Dannemora. And we'll also look at opportunities to access resources in the region to help people, maybe not on the job side, but on the wealth maintenance side. We'll talk a little bit about the opportunity agenda, but the idea is if you can help people spend less on certain items, then they can have a chance to build their wealth. So I go into this with the full acknowledgement there not a lot of promises, but we'll give it our best shot. So let's quickly walk through this strategic economic development action plan. So the first thing I want you to know is the word comprehensive isn't there, but this will be a comprehensive look at your economic development activities and options. Little different than a traditional comprehensive plan. If you were doing what they call a comp plan, you would have the wrong person here with you. You'd want to hire a planning firm, and you'd spend 2 years, and you'd do all kinds of maps, and you would inventory all your assets, and you'd talk about whether you want zoning someday. That's not what we're going to do. At least that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to take a look at the economic development side. So it's a more focused view, and it's strategic, and it's an action plan, because the goal is at the end to have 2 things. Offers of value to encourage people to invest or open businesses or expand their businesses, and asks, more items to follow up, whether they're regional agencies or your elected officials, specific things that they can do to help you build the town's economy. And that's why it's an action plan. All right, let's see if I can do this. Yes. So you secured your grant from the Park State Development to do a comprehensive assessment of your assets and your opportunities. We're also going to do a comprehensive assessment of the needs of the community on the income and wealth side. And then develop a strategic action plan to increase employment, generate wealth, real money that families can build to help invest in homes, start kids on their way, and so on. And also improve the quality of life for town residents. I've worked in Dannemora, in Saranac. I've worked in other communities. And a lot of times, real successful economic development is just convincing families to stay and families to live. And so quality of life, definitely, I would say, a part of this. Okay, so before I move into the 3 kind of key places we'll be looking, questions so far? I haven't convinced any of you potential PAC members that you want to run for the exit? Yeah, all right, good. So here's a little economic development. First thing we want to take a look at is what you call your base industries. And base industries are simply industries that help you bring money in from outside. This is what we all used to have, right? That's what Pfizer was. All that money came in payroll, got dumped into the region, and it brought money in. So this is really the key, because you can pass it around internally, but you want to try to bring that money in. Now, I think you have some really neat things to investigate as base industries because of your history. I mean, obviously, you're making good use of the former mine byproducts and the missile silos. I think that's something we really need to focus in on. As metals become increasingly scarce and precious, there's all kinds of 3D additive manufacturing. I believe that the minerals that are in some of these spent tailings may have even more value than they have now. So that would definitely be an area I'd like to look at. And then just in general, you have, Clinton County has relatively low unemployment. We still have people that are unemployed. We have a lot of people that are underemployed. Certainly took a hit when the correctional facility closed. Are there opportunities to make use of that labor force? Because increasingly, people power, that's what's in short supply. Good skilled worker, and that's one thing the North Country is known for.
So I do have a challenge there. So unemployment rate right now, I think, is about 3.8%. I can tell you, working at a pretty good sized bus manufacturing facility, yes, there are unemployed people out there.
Right.
But from what I've seen, those unemployed people don't want to work. And then the talent you get in, typically, probably bottom of the barrel, I have to say. We see women's issues, we see drug issues. There's a whole host array of stuff that we are now seeing because of the unemployment rate being so low. So if you want good talent today, you almost have to just do it for other people.
And that is you know, a common kind of situation I'm hearing. It's extreme here in Clinton County. It's even happening in some of the towns in you know, Tupper Lake, Saranac Lake, Lake Placid. They can't get people to work. So there may be an area, again, where we may not be able to offer much of a solution, but it's something I'm kind of interested in the labor force right here in town. One of the questions that kind of is in my mind is transportation. How much of that, is that an issue? And if so, is there anything that can be done to try to get people who can't get to the jobs and want to, you know, to get there? But you're right, Joey, there are broad social issues at play here that we're not going to be able to change, for sure. Now, the other tourism that's big in the north, or base industry that's big in the North Country is tourism. Because when you convince people to come in from out of town and leave money here, you've added to the local economy. You have two really unique places. They're two of my, I think, most fascinating places in Clinton County in this town, and that's Dannemora. And you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody in the United States that doesn't know that town name. Most people can't say that, but you guys, I mean, that is. I went on took my kids to the islands for the first time in 2015. Got off the plane, and a real nice shuttle driver was saying, "Where are you from?" And I usually say, "Well, you know, I'm south of Montreal, north of Lake Placid." Yeah, we were in Bermuda, and he was blank. I said, "Dannemora?" "Oh!" Well, this was like August of 2015, and literally the whole world just about had heard about Dannemora. So, yeah, I don't know, but I think, wow, it's something to be investigated. And Lime Mountain is a piece of living history. I used to teach American history. I taught 8th graders. It is so special, and that baseball stadium is so special, and the fact that the Gibson brothers wrote a song about it is so special. So, I don't know, but I think that's certainly something to be looked at with the Adirondack Coast Visitors Bureau to see if that's something they could promote. And Chazy Lake, you know, I don't know. It's a beautiful lake. I know you have a nice facility. Don't know if there's any other way to leverage that lake, or if there are other tourism assets that I'm not aware of. But that would certainly be an area that I would suggest that we take a look at. And I'm getting chopped off, but well, it doesn't matter. And then another question is your communication infrastructure, availability of broadband, self-service. What's the transportation system? Is that where you need it to be for what you want to do? And if not, are there actions the town can take to address? Again, those are challenging questions, but they should definitely be part of this inquiry. Okay? So all that being said about base industries and getting people to come in, if you look anywhere, 80% of your business comes from current, or business growth in an area comes from current businesses. So I would really recommend that we take a look at what businesses are currently in the town. Is there anything we can do to make sure those businesses have access to all of the regional assistance? I'll tell you my experience from working across the North Country, most of our businesses, and now I'm talking small businesses, not like Novabus or Prevo, but the small mom and pop's business, they don't know about the resources that are out there and available. So just to be sure that that information is readily available in Dannemora for anybody that wants to start or expand a business, to me that would be an excellent goal. Getting that, we get that all on the town website and link you to the people that everybody needs to know are out there. And again, are there opportunities for additional destination or neighborhood retail? I don't know. These are hard. It's not easy running a business in the North Country. Destination would be if we can convince more people to come. Is there a spot? I mean, the Iron Ore Market, do I have that right? That way? I just think that's about the coolest place. And, you know, Every time I've been there, they do a booming lunch business that, it's a busy place. I don't know if there are more opportunities maybe down the road. And how can you encourage entrepreneurship? Because really, that's going to be the secret for most of the Adirondacks anyway. I mean, again, we're lucky we're in Clinton County and Plattsburgh is just down the road. But for towns out there in the hinterland, like Dannemora, like Champlain, it is looking at how you can encourage people to grow their businesses. Okay, so that's it. Now shifting gears, based upon discussions with Bill and with the supervisor, we're also going to take a look at your built environment. So I know this has been exhaustively studied. We should really take a look at opportunities for redevelopment or what they call adaptive reuse of the former school correctional facility and other vacant or underutilized buildings. And if you can't find a use for them, then it leads into blight removal. Are there buildings that need to come down? And if so, how do you do that? What's the protocol? Where are sources of funding to do that kind of work? I will tell you, as I told Bill, there's nothing harder than site redevelopment. As hard as it may be to get somebody to come in and start a business and build fresh in their own building where they want it, and know what their costs are going to be, and to encourage somebody to move into a big old facility, yeah, that's really challenging. Which is why so many of these places get repurposed as senior housing and affordable housing. You use tax credit, you stack it all up, and that's the way it works. It's hard, but it's definitely something to take a look at. And then downtown revitalization for you guys. It would be Hamlet revitalization. There are programs. The folks from ESD, I think, put Bill Donahue in touch with NYSEG runs a program, and Bill just got me the information and sent it today. So, you know, again, not saying you should, but it's an opportunity. Sometimes a little bit of streetscape investment in a community, in the heart of the community, really makes a huge difference. I mean, you look at Rouse's Point and Tupper Lake, two places that I work to help pretty up. Those are like visible symbols to people that the place cares about itself, and it can help encourage other people to start some businesses. Finally, advancing the opportunity agenda. This is something we're pretty much obligated to do, to use this Empire State Development funding. The opportunity agenda was a 2013 add-on to the regional council process, and each of the 10 regions, and we're in the North Country region, were charged with trying to look at pockets of poverty and what could be done to try to help people that are impoverished with a hand up into, you know, the booming economy in the state. So as hard as anything gets, this is challenging. But ESD would like us to take a look at what barriers limit residents' ability to improve their economic situation. Here's where transportation, you know, just may be something that could be an issue. And then what actions can the town of Dannemora take to assist those residents? And again, you know, we may find that the barriers are barriers created by state and federal policy, years of intergenerational poverty, I mean, things that we can't tackle, but this is to honor that and take a look to see if there's anything that can be done. And here's where something like, you know, energy efficiency weatherization money through a rural preservation company can have an impact. If you can keep people from having to pay those $300 propane bills in a month, that makes a difference to the family. Okay, and that is it. That's kind of the heart of what I'm proposing we take a look at, but that's going to be vetted through the members of the PAC that choose to step up and join us, because I can lead you through this. I've done this a lot. I know a lot about the region, But ultimately, we need to know about Dannemora, and it would be the people sitting here, and your board, and other volunteers that may come forward who will provide that local input and make sure everything's realistic and actionable for the town of Dannemora. And so I have a handout I can leave you with, because I know you have still the board meeting to go through. It just spells out the basic approach. We'd like to start now. We have our first project advisory committee meeting in a couple weeks after it's had time to percolate out on Calvin Vision and on Facebook. It was in the paper, just so we're welcoming members of the committee, and then gather the committee and hopefully convince them to sign on for about an 18-month project. I'm figuring we'll start in early March with the goal of being done by August of 2020. There you go.
Lana or Dee, I was gonna ask you guys if you're interested in a possibility. Think about it.
Yeah, there's too many bills. We need some. So I'm sick.
You need a different name than Bill?
With three of them, it could be hard. Oh, that's true.
Oh, we will.
We could have to, I'll email you.
You
because
can call him Mr. Ledoux out of respect for his age.
Okay.
Oh, we better start with
So Melissa, is there a project that you kicked off from bare bones and is very proud of that there was success at the end of the day? Is there one that comes to mind?
I don't know that I can say I kicked off any of them from bare bones. I started working with my hometown with Rouse's Point in 2003. They had been already designated a quality community. They were having some challenges mobilizing that grant funding and getting started. So I helped them figure out what they needed to do to comply with the grants. We hired consultants, we did the plan, and then we knocked off, I don't know if you've driven through Rouse's Point, but the street lights, the pier, the shoreline walkway, Veterans Park where the tank is, train station, I can claim those. And with a lot of support from the board. I also arrived in the village of Tupper Lake in 2007. Now again, they had been doing a lot of planning. They had done a shoreline walkway. I think if you go to Tupper now, pretty darn proud of what they've accomplished. And we followed the planning and then playground, interpretive percentage on the walkway, streetscape, and they're in the middle of a bunch of other implementation projects. So, is that helpful? Okay. Oh, Saranac, your neighbor's just down the hill. Pickett's Corner Park. Saranac did a revitalization strategy and a comp plan. Then we got them follow-up money. They built that little kayak launch, put some parking in. They have next phase design done. The town's going to be working on that, so that would be another one. You can talk to Jerry Delaney or
Is there a timeline when this stuff has to start get rolling? For 2019?
In order to get applications in this summer, is that what you mean?
Yes.
For follow-up funding?
Yes.
We would be on that timeline. And so my goal would be, by the time Bill wants to seek follow-up funding, to have a draft list of assets and opportunities that he can reference. By the time we get to 2020, we'll have more of a full plan. And so, it'll be important for me to understand, and the Project Advisory Committee to understand what direction you'd like to take things in 2019 and 2020.
And I would probably need a lot of that information by July-ish.
Oh, I expect, now, we don't know yet. We have there's new times in Albany. Usually, as soon as the budget passes, boom, they announce that the whole regional council CFA round will open again. And it starts in May and ends in July. And I expect we'll be on a similar timeline if the governor's plan goes through. So I'll keep you posted though.
Well, one of the things too I wanted to mention, we've had some discouraging issues with the old town hall.
Okay.
I know the Pine Mountain Prison is up for rent. What issues are we gonna have if we do get a viable candidate to take over that rent space? But that's an old building. I'm sure there's asbestos in it. How is that gonna relate to someone wanting to set up shop in a building that's
Well,
quite old?
it's, it's always out there for an old building. So you could do a survey and you could get an engineering firm in. Now, so this would be you leasing the old town hall to someone? Is that what you envision?
Well,
Or,
we just had some very bad luck with the town hall, understanding what it's gonna take to release that property from the town.
okay,
But I guess as we look at area development and what's available for development, yeah, you got a huge giant school that now was turned into a prison and now it's vacant and just sitting there doing nothing.
right.
But the town does not own that at this point.
No, I realize that.
It's gonna be hard to get.
But I'm saying there's the owner of that building is looking to do something with it
Mhm.
through a rental fee, right?
Right.
So I don't know if there's something that, and actually, if we find the right viable economic project for that building, we could probably pick it up for little or nothing from the owner. I mean, I always envisioned that'd be a perfect spot for something like an Anheuser-Busch or Miller Brewing that set up a brewery in that building. I mean, look at the nostalgia from that.
The water
that would bring
quality
into.
here, the water
Right.
quality in my mountain would be great for that.
So
We've
it's-
said that for years, with microbrewers.
Yeah, iron ore brewery. Yeah.
Oh, great,
Iron Mountain.
and you know what, they're
They're
coming
all
up
over the place.
everywhere, they're everywhere.
They're all-
So, Joey, if in fact you had a tenant, even if you don't, if you want to make that one of your priorities to redevelop that site, then we would list it as a priority in our plan. Again, if we could talk Empire State Development into allowing us, we have about 3/4 of this money is flexible. We've left it flexible purposely, so that once we do our initial look at assets and needs and opportunities, then we can say, okay, where can we apply the rest of this money to get the answers we need? It is not beyond the realm of possibility that Empire State Development might let you do an in-depth investigation of that site if it was a priority site. A lot of times, people they find that the asbestos, the hazardous material presence to be intimidating, and it has to be acknowledged. If you do the right survey, and if you have a good design for remediation, and you get it out, it's often a lot less than people think in terms of cost. And there certainly could be grant money for that. I'm confident with it as a priority. If you were going to try to transfer ownership, I think we might want to talk to our friends at the LDC, which is you have the IDA, and then it has other arms that let you transfer property, because it's really hard for the town to buy and sell property. You have so many restrictions on you. So there are options like that.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing that I can say. I think that there could be follow-up funding to investigate that building and renovate it if the town is interested in being a partner in that. Now, finding a tenant to go in, that can be a little more challenging, but as the craft brewing industry, it is huge. And if you ever could put a craft brewing spot in Lime Mountain or in Dannemora, you get people up the hill.
Yeah, I understand that. Well,
You know?
the other, I think the other thing I look at too is the overall, I think, the other thing I worry about is the overall sustainability of living in a four-season community. I mean, yeah, there's seasonal ways you can develop the property, but you don't necessarily get the long-term investment when it doesn't hit all four seasons.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's very true. And without a winter, the winter economy, it is really challenging up here. A lot of times there's the idea of trying to package things, so you have people who offer, recreational services in the summer, and then they also pick up some of the winter. I'll tell you one thing that's always intrigued me is glade skiing, backcountry skiing. I understand we do it on Lime Mountain, And that is something that, the younger generation, more and more, they want that authentic experience. You definitely are on the right timeline for history with your assets, because honest to goodness, Lion Mountain, it's untouched. Where do you go in the United States?
I'll tell you another thing, I had a great experience to see in Louisiana, is that Louisiana took all their old railroad tracks,
Mm-hmm.
they turned them all into bike and walking paths.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, microbrewery is one of the routes you took. You actually stopped at a microbrewery to refresh yourself along the trail. But I can tell you, the number of people that use that to bike, walk, was absolutely amazing.
It is, and again, you look at, I don't know how old you are, but I'm picking on you. Deborah.
22.
The kids, to me, under 40, that's all they want to do. They want to move, they want to recreate, they want to do and see things and have their selfie there, things that nobody else has done. Like that wall, I'm sorry. You cannot convince me that there aren't people who come up and snap selfies all the time in front of that wall. Right? So, and you get the Gibson brothers to play in the baseball stadium. I bet the boys would do that for you guys. So, again, I don't know, but I've been dreaming about this project.
You know the Gibson brothers?
I don't know them personally. I know every song, every word to It's a North Country Christmas.
I've been trying to get them to come to the ball field.
Well,
Should talk to Jean.
Build it and they will come.
I talked directly to the Gibson brothers.
Yeah, she's related.
yeah, well,
Oh, Jean LeClaire? Is that what you said?
I did say,
She's related to them?
She listens to her.
yeah.
I didn't know that. I have to remember that.
If you were doing a preservation project to preserve and restore that field, and so it was a cause, I'd be surprised. Who am I to say? I'd be surprised if they wouldn't come. But, so,
More to come, right?
more to come, and we'll...
A free line down hat. They still haven't come.
Oh, dear. And that, there are so many things. So, it's the long haul, it's the planning process, and then it doesn't end, but it's hopefully linking you to the right people to continue and, generate some enthusiasm and see what happens. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you all for your time. Oh, cool. No, good. So,
Just want to, there's, you said there are obviously some federal and state stumbling blocks to development of certain ideas. There's a snobbery, certainly in the Albany government, about use of four-wheelers and where they can go and cannot go. And in talking with people who recreate in Utah and West Virginia, there are full trails, state-run, with a permit. You have to buy every year $150,000, $200,000, $200. But it gives you access to a bunch of road trails and stops along the way.
right.
Recreation, some bathrooms by the state, but not really. Mostly private places you could stop. Our governor doesn't like four-wheelers, but I notice he rides it. And, this is something North Country does. This is something that they do all over the country.
Right.
And if you want to get people here in droves, and unfortunately I think the Adirondacks have been found by too many people, personally. It's getting very crowded in some of the venues, as you can witness all around. But my point is, there are a lot of possibilities. But our own state with the APA, and our own state with the APA, the EPA, and the basic just attitude. I mean, I used to be able to ride a railroad bed from Lime Mountain to Little Kilns all the way over to, I don't know if you've ever heard of Mountain View. They're eating that.
Is that the one with the horns, the rack of antlers?
That's just a small part of a trail system that should be developed like it is elsewhere with certain restrictions. But again, that would be probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not saying millions.
Right.
But if it was packaged and put in the right places with, iron and used the little belly there and so on, as long as the museum in Lime Mountain and so on, people would come. And they're riding illegally anyway. fine people $250 for approximately 250 feet.
DEC.
DEC ones.
Yeah, I paid one.
My son works
on
there.
my
But the
plate.
point is,
Somebody else had my.
point is, there are so many of these small things that we already have here that could be developed if you could get the cooperation of the right people. But there's a salary. You can run your yacht up and down the Hudson River and your private jet out of New York and pollute the atmosphere all you want.
Right.
They're saying it's pollution, it's destruction of property and so on. It's happening anywhere. And again, I don't want to rant or keep on this forever, but it really bugs me. And every chance I get with any kind of administrator anywhere and any kind of legislator, I always end up with. You don't really want to develop.
No, I think you make a good point. I mean, it's just like, the Shady Lake is one of the top 10 cleanest lakes in the Adirondacks.
Absolutely.
And now it's got salt content, but they're not worried about salt content because they're worried about the people being able to drive 65 miles an hour on the road. Right? So now they're polluting our lake with salt.
Well, they're not only polluting this lake. The zero tolerance thing adopted during the Olympics in 1980, was it? Basically, is where this came from. I was talking about a gentleman that was made just a couple of weeks ago that was made to implement this policy. And he said it's been the biggest mistake for the Adirondacks ever.
Yeah.
And it's polluting groundwater all over the place.
Well, the thing, you got to have a governor that's friendly, not over to New York City, but statewide. And he's numb. I mean, when I was in Louisiana, those road tracks, they put the money up and they asphalted the entire railroad tracks.
Well, Canada has, Skidoo,
Sad.
Skidoo tracks. Canada grooms
Yep.
thousands of miles, literally, of Skidoo. And I know people that actually rent chalets up there, leave their stuff there, and ride four-wheelers in the summer and Skidoos in the winter. And they have to pay for it. It's $100, $150, but I mean, the point is, it's provided, it's groomed by the government, it's taken by the government, and they generate a lot of tax fees of this. Stupid. It's just a stupid overall, short-sightedness is right there.
So I would say, Bill, you're on the right side of two things that are happening right now. And I'm so glad you raised that, because that was one of the things that it's deeper in the outline in terms of collaboration with your neighbors. I had almost that identical conversation with Supervisor John Douglas of the town of Blackbrook about four-wheelers and four-wheeler access. And then I've had it in Saranac. And what's happening right now, the high peaks are overrun in the Adirondacks. And I guarantee you are going to see funding offered and encouragement offered to get some of those people out of the high peaks, out into the hinterlands. You are definitely in the right place at the right time for that. So that's a really exciting opportunity. Working with your neighbors, there's strength in numbers. And I know there's interest in Blackbrook because I gave them a little help with the Saranac corridor plan. I know there's interest in Saranac, and I know there's interest west of here. Art Millman from Vermontville, I don't know if any of you know the town supervisor, if you'd like him. There's a great stop as you're heading west. Also very interested with that gorgeous, underutilized natural assets that lie between here and where people start paying attention again in Saranac Lake. Huge opportunity. So, yes, it is very frustrating, but I'll tell you, the APA now isn't the APA what it was when I first grew up in the Adirondacks.
But there's so many restrictions on I mean, if you said if you're a millennium and you're 20 to 30 years of age or younger or older, a little bit older, you don't mind hiking or walking. But at a certain age, you're not going to trek into that backcountry if you don't have access to it.
No, and
so I'm paying the tax dollars for the millennials.
No, you hear that, Devin? Actually,
so I know, that's what I tell my sons.
Right, but I do think that it's definitely an opportunity. And then one last thing, and I'll let you get started on your meeting. Bill Donahue, one of our three bills, already has on his radar screen looking for local waterfront revitalization program funds to do what they call a local waterfront revitalization program for Shazy Lake. That, for you, as you try to protect your water quality, is an essential document because it actually has regulatory authority. So if you're up for it, because I'm not going to tell you it's a fun process, it's a fair, I've never done one. They kind of discouraged that about 15 years ago, but now it's a funding priority. That'll be really important for Shazy Lake, for sure. Yeah. So, more to come. Maybe we talk one or two other board members into joining the project advisory committee, we'd love to have you. It's always great to have, some board representation at the table. Keeps things real, so. Mr. Supervisor, if you would just get me contact info for everybody that's interested, we'll try to coordinate by email and figure out when we can get together. And I also going to send you a little post for Facebook. Do you do that, Leslie?
I do.
To get it on Facebook, because if we're going to get anybody under 50, that's a great way.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Very good.
All right, buddy, we'll sign off. We'll talk to you later, okay?
Okay, moving right along. Adirondack Park Local Government Conference is scheduled for April 3rd and 4th. In your packet, registration forms, tentative schedule. If you're interested, before March 20th, it's a cheaper rate for us. You can get a hold of Leslie, fill out the form. I'm gonna go. Anybody else is interested, just let me or Leslie know, okay? Town Facebook page, next thing under new business. We do have a Facebook page now. Leslie is one of the administrators, and anything that needs to go on the Facebook page has to go through her. It's been up for a couple weeks now. We're actually using it to try and help find our wastewater operator that we need in Lime Mountain. Okay? We posted, we used it one day when there was that ice situation we had a couple weeks ago. We put out there if anybody in the town needed sand in their driveway or sidewalks, we could provide it. Mark actually took care of one example is Tom Schutz. He had a hip surgery, I believe, in January, and his driveway was just one sheet of ice, and they sanded the driveway for him. So that's what's going on the Facebook page. Anybody got any questions, concerns about that? Matt, you got any concerns about it?
Just be careful about, Facebook's great, but there should be a disclaimer somewhere on the page about profane racial conduct or talking about people. There's one of those standard things I can provide it for you if you want, just put it somewhere so you have the ability to take down posts if you need to without violating person's other rights. If that disclaimer's up there, you're protected.
Okay, well, then provide that one for us.
I will, Mr. Mike. If we go back one to that Adirondack Park government thing, I'm just seeing on the agenda, Bill, if you're going to go, we've got two topics on short-term rentals. Because of Shazy Lake and the rentability up here, short-term rentals, VRBO, vacation rental by owner, those one-week rentals, people are buying houses just to rent them out. It's becoming a huge issue with municipalities, with zoning, with property values. I used to live in Cliffhaven on Lake Champlain, and they had 35, 45 vacant homes. One family was buying up every home that became for sale and just was using them for rentals in the summer, which creates a whole hassle of problems for small communities as far as the upkeep the rest of the year. And if you've got a close community like you do here on Shazy Lake, if you have one property that becomes just a party house all summer with 40 guests a weekend, the neighbors on the other side go nuts. There's nobody there to contact, there's no landlord. It's a very hot button topic right now in municipalities. So if somebody's going to go, or Bill, you're definitely going, you can go to one or both of those classes. There's going to be updates on local laws, zoning amendments you may want to consider about short-term rentals.
Yeah, those ones.
There's no noise.
Well, we may want to consider, one of the things that Melissa just talked about was potentially going to having zoning and what that would do as far as a long-term comprehensive plan as part of a strategic plan. Maybe that's something because of the rental possibility up here on Shazy Lake and or Tupper Lake, I think is in the town, just other areas. You may want to start considering that because short-term rentals are a big thing now. They're creating as many problems as they are anything else.
Okay. All right.
You should definitely wear that tie too if you go. Garter, so you can get some
It's
attention.
a Rush Limbaugh time.
It would have to be, my God. It's hideous. It's so hideous.
What? You're here for advice, counsel, your personal opinion.
I thought that was advice. Where did that tie? You gave me some attention. That was advice.
I can get attention without wearing this top.
No.
That's for sure.
Hey, we had, actually, WPTZ wanted to do an interview today about this thing Melissa talked about. But, I'll turn it over to her. They never contacted her. For some reason I got an email from them, because it was in the paper, you know, looking for community members like Kevin, who's gonna do it, Barb, Bill, Guy, he's all excited, I can see him.
Calm down.
Okay. Any other new business anybody's got? All right, old business. All right, ags and markets. We've been under the gun of ags and markets for New York State because we don't have a place to shelter what?
Dangerous.
Dangerous dogs. And Elmore SPCA is out of compliance. They do an inspection on them. They don't have sheltering services provided for the dangerous dogs, so every time they get and then we get a notice, if they're unsatisfactory, then we've got to do something about it. So the towns of Dannemora, Brew, Plattsburgh, and Schuyler Falls are all under having not being in compliance. The towns of Osable, Black Brook, and the city of Plattsburgh are in compliance. And there is a provision, there's a provision in our contract with Elmore SPCA. It's actually, Article 3, Matt, says,
Page 7.
page 7, back of it. We have the right to terminate this contract with or without cause upon 30 days of written notice of such termination. And I am going to recommend it because actually Elmore SPCA, in order to, they need to raise $100,000 to upgrade their facilities to be able to take care of dangerous dogs. And they were just wondering if the town of Dannemora would invest $15,000 to make this project a reality.
Page 8.
Page 8. Page 9 is an outfit out of Malone that will take all kinds of dogs, dangerous, friendly, ones that bite me. And so I'm looking to terminate with Elmore SPCA and enter into a contract with the North Country Animal Shelter located at 194 Bear Hill Road, Malone. Town of Morris, Ellenberg, Clinton, already Alcona are in contract with this outfit.
We have enough ground space now on the audit report
Right.
to move.
And actually, the Ags and Market told us we were going to get fined, didn't they?
Janet Collier said that yesterday.
She said we're going to get fined.
It's only for a dangerous dog.
Yeah, well, we're not compliant, so where we
You don't have any place to house them.
yeah.
We need to, does Matt need to look at this contract from this EPA, or Country Animal Shelter, before we terminate with Elmore?
Yeah. But, I mean, we can start the proceedings.
Yeah, you can give out more than 30 days, we can ask for a contract in place and all of it.
Right.
I know there's other towns that I work with that have done very similar things.
Do you know what the other towns, how much it was costing the other towns going?
Well, we talked to the lady on the phone and we told them what we were paying for Elmore, and she said she could honor that.
Oh, okay.
That'll be in the contract.
She didn't want. Because the other towns are paying more.
Yeah. And we were paying Elmore $1,050. So, we can start the process?
Yep.
We'll need a motion?
Yep.
I'll make the motion that we terminate our contract with Elmore SPCA
And give them 30 days or
and give them 30 days notice.
Second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. And we'll, within them 30, we'll contact North Country Animal Control Center and,
you just ask them before we get those contracts.
okay. All right. Land on water, wastewater operator, vacancy. Still don't have an operator. Tim Graves has started full-time at Clinton Correctional and working 7 to 3. He's filling in, he's agreed to fill in till the end of March. He's gonna take it in 2-month increments. And what we gotta discuss here, he's going there from 3:30 to 5:30 at night, taking care of the Monday through Friday stuff, still coming up on the weekends. I've been searching high and low, I've been in contact with DEC. DEC, all they want to say to me is something similar to what Bill Duke was saying, the attitude, well, we're enforcement. You don't find one, we're going to come and enforce. If you run the place without an operator, you'll suffer the consequences. Basically, they put it into a letter to me. And we posted it, Clinton County personnel, gone through New York State Department of Labor, GEC, there's NIWEA has posted some New York, what is it, New York? Yeah, they're the administrators of the licenses, the tests and all that. They're posting it out there for us. I've called all sorts of different people down in Essex County, and talked to Dank out there in St. Lawrence County, the New York State Development Authority, Northern New York there. They actually have a operator that works in Malone 2 days a week. He's retired, New York State retirement. He comes out of Tupper for 2 days a week. He's their official operator there. He gets $30,000 plus health benefits for the year, just to work 2 days a week through Dank. So, Tim Graves wants $40 an hour now for his 2 hours a day.
Is that gonna qualify a DEC for that time?
Yeah, they know all about this. Actually, DEC, it's kind of weird. The requirements for an operator to be on site is 60 hours a quarter, so like 20 hours a month. And for some reason, they want you to have operators that are going to be there 5 days a week, but you only have, if you figure out the math, it just doesn't add up 60 a quarter for 3 months. You can get somebody, that's the minimum requirement, and you're in compliance.
How long is Tim looking to do it for?
Tim will do it till the end of March, then reevaluate. We're supposed to have 2 operators. There's the town of Chattagay, the village of Chattagay. They only have 1 operator. The guy's been looking for a year. The town of Peru is the market is the same as we are right now, looking for an operator. I've contacted Billy Jones and Betty Little's office in regards to getting an operator where we could actually train maybe a couple people. Nobody, and even DEC don't seem to understand. We got $27,000 in our personnel services for that district this year. DEC's, their help is to give me a list of engineering companies to contact and try to see if they have a wastewater operator that we could have them come there and fulfill the minimum requirements. But even if it was 60 hours in a quarter, they're going to charge anywhere from $75 up per hour. So this is the buying rate.
Well, I think short term, that's just my opinion. Short term, I think you should reach out to Tim.
Well, this is what he'd like. He's hanging on also covering our water district in Chazy Lake until Phelan can take over. And his only requirement for compensation for that is we pay him the 2 weeks pay that we were going to give him for the year.
What's Phelan going on?
Well, Phelan started in December and takes 6 months. So May. Tim's still the official operator of Chazy Lake Water District.
Okay. Is he willing to stay until May?
Yeah, he's willing to take that one on. The sewer thing, it's just a matter of
Assessment.
yeah, after 2, because he works 7 to 3. He showed up here the last 2 days, and then he's going up there, putting in another 2 hours. He's putting in 12-hour days, basically.
But it's easy money.
I know, but it's still time consuming.
I get it. But if he's willing to throw out a price,
Well, $40 an hour you want to trade down.
and we're willing to bite short term, what other opportunity do you have?
Well, we got to, we pretty much gotta, well, we gotta pass a resolution to an agreement of $40 an hour. Hang on until, and then I notified you all and I told you everybody, you know, you guys all had to be on deck in this, and, you know. And the thing is, we gotta have a two-way operator. We had a girl, Malone, she's got a class 2, she's not a two-way. She's not qualified. She's have to, for, train somebody, it's gonna be, it takes up to a year for sewer. Oh, yeah. This is what I've been dealing with primarily a lot. In the last, well, since Tim gave his notice.
I find it strange that DEC puts us on more of a tight time window and fine issue when we got three other districts or 3 other wastewater areas that have the same problem we have.
Well, supposedly they're clamping down on everybody. That's what they tell me.
I mean, if Tim can do it short term until we find another viable option, I think we won't have any choice in the matter.
Okay.
That's my opinion on the rest of the board things.
You ain't got it.
Somebody's gonna do it.
We ain't got any other options.
Bill, can you explain why Line Mountain Sewer is a 2A and the village is only a 1?
The A classification is based on the type of treatment. Since you have an aerated system there and a small
Activated
activated
sludge.
sludge, essentially activated sludge, whereas the Dannemora plant is a lagoon, it's a B, I think, is it?
There's like,
Class B.
how many different ways are there to
Three.
treat sewer?
Well, that's an open question. Basically 3.
Malone has got some kind of RCP or something system.
Reverse osmosis, that's a tertiary part of, they probably discharge into a navigable or a water source stream. Depending on where you discharge your wastewater, it will tell DEC what class of treatment they have to have. You know, if you're discharging right into a brook, it's into a reservoir that people drink out of, it has to have tertiary treatment or a final polishing piece in there. Line Mountain does not, it goes into the separated brook and then
They said,
the lake.
it's like when whoever the hierarchy was here and they decided which way they were gonna go, it was left up to the town board, the DEC said. You know, you could,
Because both operators in the village don't even carry a license to run that.
right, yeah, I mean, yeah, that was one of their suggestions, call around. Well, then when they suggested call around and find an operator, they didn't say, well, make sure he's a 2A. You find out the people in the village can't even help you. You know, you gotta find a 2A. We asked NIWEA to provide us with 2A operator list, so it's confidential. They can't tell us who the operators in our area who are actually 2A. So I've just been banging my head off the wall over this. So, you're gonna make the motion,
I'll make
somebody,
a resolution that
hire Jim or Tim?
hire for short term until he reassesses. So until March, end of March, he said?
Yeah, end of March, he said.
I'll make a resolution that we put forward,
March 31st.
agree to pay Tim Gray $40 an hour up to the end of March until he brings back to us another reassessment of his next steps.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Roll call vote, Jim?
Yep.
Joey? Steve? Bill, yes. So, March 31st falls on a Sunday, so, perfect. All right,
Bill, when the alarm goes off at the end of the street, who do you call at this point?
call Tim Graves still, or you call me, and I can get a hold of him.
Well, it was one day this week.
Yeah, I know, it's happened more than once. Yeah, there's issues up there, actually, that he's still trying to address, so. Okay. Emergency planning for public, we're in an outage there. We talked about this. We got another email from John Canoza. Guess we referred it to Butch. Butch isn't too keen on the idea, but I'm bringing it back to you guys in regards to using this building in an emergency situation for charging batteries of people at oxygen tanks and et cetera. So,
Why is Butch not too keen on it because of liability?
no, because what they did before, when the ice storm supposedly drove around and everything. And they said something about what? We need some kind of a,
Like an adapter for them at least to plug into.
Something electrical anyway.
Somebody has to let them in the building, like if it's a weekend.
it's an emergency situation, and it's,
People
It's-
aren't supposed to be on the road during emergency situations. There's the fire departments travel around to homes to charge their oxygenators, according to Butch, during the ice storm.
we're a central part of this building is actually to serve the public in that way.
And, well, there's a generator, so when the power's out, it's on here.
You have to see what they're requesting for power, and you can only plug so much into the circuit.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so I could respond that we're possibly interested as long as we are able to.
Yeah, they're gonna get to give you some kind of specifications to.
Right.
Why don't we have, somebody come up and look at the building and see what we can handle, and how many people at a time, and that kind of stuff, just to see what's feasible first.
Okay, write that down.
Isn't it some public buildings that are strict laws and room occupancy?
Yeah, so we need to know, but I would want the health department to say, you could house this X number of people here, you can charge this number of devices. Let them tell us what they think is appropriate first, then we'll figure out what we can do.
Okay. We're interested if it's something we can actually do. What we need,
Them to come.
we need Eric Davis, Kelly Donahue.
Okay.
Okay. Me and Mark, next thing Schultz said, shed pre-design meeting was held on 31st of January. Myself, Mark Siskavich, Liz Tedford, and 3 guys from AES. Paul, I call him Paul Double D or something, Brad Davidsky, Wayne Ryan. But there's the minutes there. What it amounts to is original budget was 1.2, and me and Mark came to agreement to ask AES to get the building costs of the salt shed down to $1 million. So 500,000 got to come from the town, 500,000 from the grant. So that's what the rest is. Well, the construction would be 2020.
We've got owner agrees that construction in 2020 will be acceptable and will not affect grant monies. How do we know that?
Because it's in the grant, on the allowable time.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be done this year.
Okay.
Got the time frame.
Just because they're clearly putting that onus on us to know that and make sure, so I just want to make sure you're following.
Yeah, that's why we got Liz Tedford.
Okay.
She made sure we're bothered, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the guys that did the Beekman Town building. So,
So they'll bank that money for us. That money will be banked.
Yeah, it would have to be, that sounds like it.
okay. Okay,
Is that what you're looking at, concrete building, wood structure?
yeah.
Is that a shingle roof or is it kind of a?
Shingle, I believe you said.
Nice building.
Is there one that's similar to what we're gonna build that another town has? Jay-Z?
No,
Was it
Beekman Town.
Beekman Town.
Beekman Town's a football lane field, so
Yeah,
they got a monster one, but that's,
So you do have a tan in it.
and actually, town of Saranac is using AES also for their construction of their salt shed.
They look at things on this bill, or,
And I think theirs would be bigger. They got more roads that they take care of. They got, what, 80 miles of local roads?
Yeah.
20 miles of county. And actually, just to let you know, Nick Carter has talked about, we somehow could work in conjunction to save on engineering costs. You know, we're that wasn't discussed with Wayne Ryan. I don't know what you guys feel about that.
Building is just smaller scale structures, all the building here.
Right, they're the same building.
Thickness of the walls, spread footage.
Should be able to-
Everything's the same.
We should be able to work together.
Say so. As long as it doesn't affect the timelines of the grant. We're going to another township, that's all.
No, I wouldn't think so, but it'll be
How
something.
much smaller is ours going to be than the one Beacon down there?
There's the size of a football field.
They're like 300 feet long. Yeah.
What's this one going to be?
I remember this,
Specs on it. You don't, I got it over the office.
I don't remember, is it in the minutes?
Didn't say 150 feet. Square. Close. 150 feet long, but I want to say 80 feet wide, maybe.
So you gotta be able to take some of these plans and just scale it down by half, but it should be reinventing the building.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't know, not necessarily, a lot of times it's, they've done it before, they tell you they've done it before, then, oh, I'm not using the same plan, oh, well, no, we can't do that.
I've seen a lot of projects lately where so much money goes to engineering, millions of dollars going to engineering costs on things that they've done 15 different times, so.
Well, they're gonna go dig and they're gonna test the ground.
That kind of stuff makes sense, but as far as the schematics of the building and so on, that should be pretty standard, I think. And you're doing where the Quonset hut is now, so is that totally coming out, or are you gonna try to use anything back?
We're taking that all out.
Everything's just gonna be.
Yeah, we're gonna,
That's part of this project grant money, or part of the project money encompasses that tear down.
yep,
And where we're going to move the excess then? And that's all being built.
The same
No.
can stay where it
we're
is.
gonna put it,
We're gonna put it over here.
yeah. That's one of the, why, that was part of the reason we talked about doing it, is that then you don't have to move the same until the building's built. And there's always, part of our 500,000 can be in-kind services. The highway department somehow can help out in regards to, taking down the bonds out, whatever. Moving that, doing some of the site work.
Okay.
And then, any other old business? Committee reports. I'll go first, I guess. We had Mike Bullers in here. We closed out our books for the year, and we got the AUD started. Hopefully, he's got some things to finish it up, and hopefully we're going to get that done and submitted to Albany by the end of next week, right? It's supposed to be in before March 1st. I told you about having a talk with Stegman, Bob Stegman of DEC. He's the guy that provided me the list of the engineering outfits for wastewater. Fishing derby over the past weekend was very successful. There was over 200 entries into the derby at $30 a pop. Very successful. First time. Jeremy Haley did a nice job, and Jeremiah, that is. Did a very nice job. There was a big crowd there Saturday afternoon at the American Legion. They had a meal provided. We had a breakfast going, but that breakfast didn't go over very well. From 5 to 10 for the Knights of Columbus, only 47 people showed up for that, but afterwards, highly successful fishing derby. And it's going to be a yearly event, and we can tip our hat to Jeremiah Haley.
Should we send out an official record on the board?
I don't know. You'll be back looking for more funding. Good thinking. In the fall, I imagine, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the town was a sponsor.
Yeah. Bill Donahue, I got some things for you. I don't know if I sent them. Oh, I got a thing from Mark Dennicor. Lisa McGinn struck pay dirt again, securing yet another grant for the Lake Champlain Basin Program. Lisa is batting 1,000. This is her 4th grant in 2 years. It's an organizational grant which will provide Shady Lake with $3,200 for membership dues, software, printer supplies, educational materials, and travel expense, among other things. To date, Lisa has secured $37,200 in grants for Shady Lake. So, we tip our hat to Lisa. Okay,